How's it going, guys? Yasukeh here. I've been doing a lot of experimentation with Tryndamere builds since the durability patch, because I feel like a lot of things have changed with Tryndamere. As an example, Gale Force does not feel very strong at all, because there's just so little damage behind it, and then Kraken Slayer also got nerfed. So I've been experimenting with Eclipse as the primary Tryndamere mythic, and I wasn't super convinced, but after these buffs to Eclipse as an item, I feel like this is the go-to Tryndamere mythic. And in this video, I'm going to explain the overall build and why it is so powerful and how it can be the go-to Tryndamere build. And so, first off, the buffs to the item was that every legendary item that you have with Eclipse gives you +5 movement speed. And overall, we're going to explain every aspect of the build. We're going to go over the rune page, but we'll have later videos to explain everything about why I go Phase Rush. And Phase Rush is something that I've just been going the entire time on Tryndamere. Sometimes Phase Rush hasn't been as good. And I was thinking at first with the durability patch that you'd have to go lethal tempo for the extra damage until I found this build. And this build is just so strong, and especially combined with Phase Rush, because a lot of these items are based on bursts and small trades. And that is exactly what Phase Rush excels at, is being able to go in, get a short trade, go out, wait a little bit, kind of just mess around and like troll the enemy team. So, couple little tips about the rune page. Just Phase Rush, Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, Gathering Storm, Legend Tenacity, and Last Stands. A big thing about the MS buff of +5 per item is that Celerity increases that. So that is very valuable to have. And Gathering Storm, just good for just general scaling. There's not really anything else that you take here, but Gathering Storm ensures that you're going to have very good damage late. It outscales Scorch past 10 minutes in, and it's just really, really, really strong. And there are some upcoming nerfs to Resolve runes. So the standard lethal tempo page that has lethal tempo and then Resolve as their secondary, all of these runes that you commonly get on Tryndamere are all going to be nerfed. So it's going to make this page become relatively better next patch. And so, just explaining first off with a build, you may notice, hey Yasukeh, why aren't you going Lucidity Boots anymore? After the durability patch, you need to have the extra damage from Berserker Greaves. You can't justify going Lucidity Boots because you just lack the damage. Whereas with Berserker Greaves, you may lose a little bit of CDR, but that 35% attack speed has been feeling so great. And I tried to rush this as an item, because not only do the boots get enhanced by Celerity, so you're just faster than everything, but attack speed and movement speed are the two most important stats on Tryndamere. And so it is incredibly valuable to rush that. I'll often, say on like a first back, I'll get longswords, start building into the Essence Reaper, but I'll still try to get my boots as soon as possible. With Essence Reaper, this is always an item that I've been advocating to be rushed as a first item on Tryndamere. Not only is it 600 plus gold, cheaper than every other Mythic spike, so you're going to be getting your first item faster, but Essence Reaper is just everything that you want on Tryndamere. Tryndamere has always excelled with Sheen procs. For several seasons, Tryndamere always built Triforce, which had Sheen in it. Because Tryndamere is a champion who can use Sheen procs so well, and they're so great for taking turrets. You also have crit, AD, and CDR, all stats that Tryndamere loves. And you may be thinking, why not just rush Eclipse? Rushing Eclipse feels pretty bad because there's such a big lack of crit. And Essence Reaver is solving that. And the buffs to Eclipse were that they gave extra stats, extra movement speed per legendary item that you have. And that means that you don't get the buff on Eclipse until your second item anyway. So there's no reason to actually be rushing Eclipse right now. So you get this, and a big thing about Eclipse as an item is Serrated Dirk is the strongest item in the game for its cost. The AD plus lethality just makes your auto attacks so incredibly strong, and especially that lethality working with the Essence Reaver proc is just incredibly massive. The Sheen proc on Essence Reaver, since Tryndamere has one of the highest base ADs in the game, it makes non-crits feel like crits. This is why I had previously gone Sheen Rush like 2 minutes in builds, because just how valuable Sheen is on Tryndamere. And so, Essence Reaver, very large amount of AD. The lethality on this item is amazing. This item in general is one of the strongest items in the game right now, Eclipse. And you see so many champions that if they can go it, they do go it. So, this item has just been so amazing on Tryndamere. Let's go right here just to look at this little kill. This is before I have Essence Reaver, but I have all of the components for it. And the amount of damage per autos here is just incredible. And then having the Phase Rush to keep up allows you to also take Ignite, which is one of the strongest spells in the game. Like, that's a 378 auto right there. 482 auto attack, 17 minutes in. Almost 500 damage, 17 minutes in. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And the next item that you're going to be going is a Crit Cloak. The reason that you go a Crit Cloak is because if you try to rush Bork, then you'd only have 20% crit from items. And that's just not enough to feel good. You feel like you don't really have enough crits. So getting the Crit Cloak right here and then finishing your next item is definitely the play to just make it feel good. You could I've tried rushing Bork, but I just feel like I don't have enough crit. And there are too many times to where I'm just feeling like I'm losing out on kills because of that. So going Crit Cloak into Bork is very powerful. And Bork is also another item which is just incredibly strong, and most champions who can go it do go it. And there's always been this thought recently with Tryndamere is that Lifesteal is bad on Tryndamere. Tryndamere has gone Lifesteal items for 10 plus seasons. Every season, there's always a Lifesteal item in Tryndamere's core build. Since the item rework, there just hasn't been a good Lifesteal item for Tryndamere to go. So it's not that Lifesteal has ever been bad on Tryndamere, it's that there hasn't been a good Lifesteal option for Tryndamere. And these are two completely different points. So it's so many Tryndamere players just having amnesia about what people used to go on Tryndamere, thinking that Lifesteal is just always bad. When you get Eclipse, right? Eclipse alone has 8% Omnivamp, so it allows you to heal so much after a fight. Let's say you go into a fight, you'll push a wave out, or you'll go into a fight, you'll get really low. You'll maybe take a jungle camp, take a wave, and then all of a sudden you have enough health to go back into the fight. And that's incredibly valuable. Like, you basically have 2 lives in a fight. And then second time around, everybody has burned all of their cooldowns, so it's a lot safer to fight. And then Eclipse also has a shield every 8 seconds. And that shield is incredibly massive for these kind of like baits that are going on. I just popped her right there. So every 8 seconds, even if you're at 1 HP, getting that shield allows you to go back into fights that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to. Like, some people still go shield bow on Tryndamere. Eclipse is basically just a shield bow that does more damage, and the shield is higher in its uptime, which is just really good. And Bork also has the movement speed steal slow, which is very valuable, as it not only makes it to where it's easy for you to catch people out in a side lane, but that slow also makes it really easy to catch people out when you're grouped up in a team fight. Somebody oversteps their bounds, all of a sudden you get that slow. That 3 auto attacks plus the Bork proc plus the Eclipse proc is enough damage to get somebody at least to half health. And then with that, you can just disengage. You don't need to all in every fight. This build gives you so many more options of how you want to choose to engage fights than the standard lethal tempo Gale Force Navori Kraken builds with Ghost Flash. Those builds, you have one option, is go in. And then fight until you go in. Whereas this, there's so many more options and so many different ways you can play fights that just gives you so much more, like, so many more potential options to win games. And another reason why I go Bork is because there's no attack speed in these items. So I need to go some kind of attack speed item. And I was going Phantom Dancer, but the reason I don't go Phantom Dancer third is because there's so few fights where I'm actually starting with the 4 stacks. So I'm not getting the full value out of the item. And Bork is just a stronger item anyway. It is kind of nice to have Zeal have the movement speed, but I find this is just so much more valuable. You can go, actually, Phantom Dancer as your crit item, but I generally don't. So, after you've built your core items, it's really your choice what you want to go. Most commonly is IE, but sometimes I'll actually go Storm Razor on Tryndamere if I don't have enough gold to complete the IE. Because not only is it that nice little extra like burst damage that's also a slow, it's just a lot cheaper, gets you an extra stack of your Mythic passive, and overall it's just a nice item to have, and it synergizes well with what the build is trying to do. And Eclipse, the Mythic passive, is also percent penetration, plus the lethality that's also on the item. So if you get this, you just completely melt through tanks. If you get Lord Dominic's plus this, like you will still have competitive damage against tanks and bruisers to be able to solidly, reliably kill them. And the amount of lifesteal that you have just makes it so much safer. There are so many times where you're going to be in a side lane, you're going to be fighting, and sometimes you're not going to be able to straight up kill them. You'll disengage where both of you guys are half health, and then all of a sudden you're pushing the wave. And with that wave push, you're back to full health, while they're still half health. So that just gives you so much more potential to do things right there. Yeah, like, the amount of damage on these autos is just incredible. So, with that, I'm going to go into Training Tool and show you a couple things, a couple little tips about how to operate with the builds. So we'll go here. Take Highlander. Yep, that's a little bit awkward. But yeah, so this item is very... One big thing about Eclipse is that lethality works on turrets. So not only is Essence Reaver one of the best turret-taking items, because Essence Reaver proc works on turrets, but lethality also works on turrets as well, because turrets have a little bit of base armor, and then so getting rid of that is incredibly valuable. So let's get myself some gold, and we'll just start off explaining a couple things about how to work this item. This isn't going to be a super in-depth tutorial about how to operate these items, but it should be good enough. Knuckle turret fire. Alright, hang on. And then let's level up a couple times. Now, so right here, right? When you have minions here, let's say that this is a minion. You don't ever want to have your Sheen proc up, auto attack here, and then go in. Because then you won't have your Essence Reaver proc actually active when you're trying to kill the actual target. So you want to make sure that this is up. And the ideal trade is, let's say this is low right here, right? You want to spin through one Sheen proc, auto attack, and then as soon as this comes back up, auto attack, and then in the middle of it, press Q. Let me do that again. Yeah, so right here. And then so when you press Q, after the auto goes off, you get the Sheen auto, but the auto still has the crit attached to it because the crit chance counts at the beginning of the auto. But the Sheen proc doesn't count until the end of the auto attack. So that's one really, really valuable way to sort of get that last little bit of damage off, is just Q right there and then go. Because, like, say the common trade, if somebody is under turrets, right, is... yeah, common trade that you'll do is a spin auto. And right there, you don't proc Sheen. However, if you just press Q before, then you do get the Sheen proc, which is really, really, really nice. And then with the lethality, once you get that, this is probably one of the strongest spikes that you can have, is Essence Reaver and Serrated Dirk. This is commonly a build that you'll see champions like... you'll sometimes see Rivens go this. You'll definitely see Dravens go this. When a Draven has these items, it's the most possible power that he could really have at this point, because you're getting one of the cheapest viable rush items in the game, and then Serrated Dirk is just amplifying everything that you have. And then, so once you get that, your ability to take turrets is incredibly, incredibly quick. And then, so once you get this, the proc right here is very, very good. Let's get a couple more levels. And it's only 8 seconds. I never even thought that that was going to be the case of being 8 seconds. Which is why I never considered the item before. And this probably wasn't a good build until the durability patch. So let's say I'm really low health right now, and I'm going into a fight, like if I'm in a brush camping, waiting for the fight to have an opening if somebody uses a cooldown or something. Just hit 2 abilities, then I have my shield, and all of a sudden I'm really safe. And the proc of 6% max health physical damage, movement speed as well, 15% movement speed that you get from the item. With the shield, it's everything that you want, especially with my playstyle of Tryndamere. It's really, really, really valuable. You get the crit cloak next, and then commonly I'll be building recurve bow first, just to try to get that extra attack speed. Vamp scepter, I prefer that over the pickaxe. Then we'll go here. And then if I have only enough gold for the Storm Razor, we'll go that, because it's really valuable to get the spikes faster in games. The faster you can get spikes, the better off you are. So even though Infinity Edge is a better completed item, sometimes if there's a dragon fight that's about to go down, you want to have as much power as possible. So if that means spending your gold right now on less efficient items, it's better to go the Storm Razor right now. And then all of these items are just major burst. So I get this right here. And then Phase Rush in conjunction with Bork passive allows you to split side lanes so much more effectively. Also with the shield. The shield plus Bork plus everything you have right here is very valuable. And this is without any kind of Zeal items, having that extra 8 movement speed. Having 8 movement speed more than you're supposed to, more than your enemy, is infinitely valuable. If you're the same speed as somebody, having 5+ more than they do is so valuable for what it actually means to the game. +5 MS is not +5 MS. It's actually way more than just that, to be a little bit quicker than somebody. That means you're going to be able to get so many more picks that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. Yeah, so all of this movement speed right here, you can go very heavily up into a side lane, fight here, and then once they are trying to collapse onto you in the side lane, all you have to do at any point is just get your procs off, and then all of a sudden, you're out of there. You're never going to get killed in a side lane. And this also means that you can go up further into the side lane. So your split push is going to be relatively more effective. And another thing about having so much movement speed is that your rotations to dragons, which are really important, are going to be a lot quicker. So let's say you're in the top lane. A dragon is about to spawn in 40 seconds. You go up here, and you are fighting this laner. The laner has to match you, otherwise you take the turret. So all you do is just get your procs off, and then you just leave. All of a sudden, they have a little bit of a slow on them, and you're going to be having priority to be able to get to this fight faster. And now all of a sudden you have a flank. That is one of the best tips that you can do as a top laner, and one of the biggest things that I see is wrong with Tryndamere players is not spending enough time thinking about grouping. If you're a top lane Tryndamere, you always want to be grouping for second dragon. If you can secure that second dragon and get a good fight off there, then it doesn't matter that the enemy laner got like 2 plates or something off on you. Being present for fights as a top laner is the most valuable thing that you can do. Because let's say you get a little bit of a lead top lane and just ignore the fight that's happening bot, and you just let it be a 4v4 bot. Your team loses, you maybe get like a plate, you maybe get a kill, but it would have just been so much more valuable for you to be there in the fight. Especially with if you have a lead. And so many people will complain about top lane has no agency. I mean, yeah, top lane has no agency if you refuse to play the game. And you don't need teleport to roam. 40 seconds away from an objective, you could just walk down. You don't need to have teleport to group. Just because you have Ghost, just because you have Ignite, doesn't mean that you can't be a participating member of fights. Teleport is not that powerful. So these are a couple little tips about the build. General gist, I find that this is just the strongest build on Tryndamere right now. So let me know what you guys think. Try it out, see how it works out for you. Let me know in the comments down below how it's working out for you. Any interesting builds that you've come up with, any possible variations on this that you might think of. Let me know what you guys think. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye and good night. Yeet.